Hello again, and thank you so much for being here for the second part of our 2D platformer game tutorial using the Stride3D game engine. And let's jump right ahead. So last time we finished off, and let's open our Stride3D game studio and let's just run the game. Previously we had our character controls, so we can move it side to side and jump. And now what we need is to have the camera follow our character, because at this point he goes off the screen and we need the camera to follow the character around. Let's do that next. Then this time we are going to open the Visual Studio Community IDE and work from there. So you have an icon up here, you can open and you can see that you have Visual Studio Community available if you have installed it in your machine. So let's click to open. And once it's open, we can see the project structure here on the Solution Explorer. And as you can see, you have our folder level 1 with the Ghost Hunter controls script that we've created previously. And let's open that just to check it out. And as you can see, the code is all here. Everything looks fine. There are no errors. And we can also run the game from Visual Studio. So we can click up here in the run button and the game will start as normal. So in Visual Studio Community you have all the features available, like debugging and the code analysis and everything else. So it's a really good tool to have to extend your development. So let's go right ahead and create the camera movement script, and we'll just create a new class in our project. So in the Solution Explorer, just right click on top and let's add a new class, and let's call this class camera behavior. And now, as before, I'm going to add the code and then I'll explain at the end. The code is now added, and if you are wondering why I didn't add this script or this class into the level 1 folder, is because this camera behavior will be common to all the levels. So the camera following the character will be common throughout all the levels, and in that case it is outside the level 1 folder. So let's continue, and I've added the code, and this is a sync script. As you can see, it's inheriting from the sync script class. First of all, we have our public properties. So we have a property called entity to follow, and this is going to receive the entity which will be our character, and this is the entity that the camera will follow always. So this is public because we will be configuring this from the Stride3D game studio. Next we have our offset, so this controls the positioning from the camera, and we also have our follow speed, and this controls the speed in which the camera follows the character around. In our start method we are not adding anything because we are not initializing any other attribute. And then we have our update method. So first we check if the entity to follow contains anything. Next we have our delta time, and the delta time is used to ensure that the frame rate is consistent and we do not see any breaks on the camera following the character, and we get the current position of the camera. And next we are calculating the target position based on the entity's position and offset, so this will be the place where the camera needs to move to, and then we are moving to that position in a smooth way, and for that we are using the lerp method, which ensures that the movement of the camera is smooth. And that's it, that's all we need to make our camera follow our character around. So let's open the Stride3D game studio. So let's open the project, and just to check, let's click on our code folder, and you can see that we have our camera behavior script, the class that we've created from Visual Studio Community. And if we open, we have the code. Now what we need to do is go back to our level 1 scene, and let's select the camera, and let's add the script that we just created. So add the component script, and as you can see, we already have here the camera behavior script, so let's click the script. And now we have our public properties here as expected. We just need to select our entity to follow. Is going to be the Ghost Hunter character, so let's select this one and let's leave everything as it is, and that should be it. Let's save and run the game. And as you can see, the camera now follows the character, and the camera seems to be a little bit too close to the character. So let's use our offset properties to try to move the camera a little bit back so we can have a bigger field of view of the character and its surroundings. So let's do that. So close this instance of the game and we go to the Z-axis, and let's try putting it at 20. See how this looks like and run the game. And it looks better, but I'm still going to make it a little bit closer now. And now we can start building the world for our character. So we are going to add a little bit more platforms, and we are going to add the world elements. And also later we are going to create a parallax effect. So in our Stride Game Studio, we are going to start to build our world. We are going to start adding some elements and expanding the world for our character. So the first thing we will do is to add a couple more platforms so you can walk on them. And this is going to be the ground platform. So maybe we can change the name to ground. So going to our world elements folder and selecting the platform, we can just press F2 to change the name, and we are going to change the name to ground, and this is better. So this identifies the ground for the character, because we are going to just duplicate this platform here that we have and just expand it to the right side. So selecting the platform, we are going to press Ctrl and D to duplicate, so Ctrl D, and then using the translation gauges here, you just slide it to the right, and you can see that we have a platform there. So, and we can continue, so we can roll back a little bit to have a wider view and move it like this. And now we can continue to duplicate, so Ctrl D again and slide to the right, Ctrl D again, and let's add a gap so the character can jump over like that. So you have an obstacle here so the character needs to jump over. And let's run the game just to test this if everything is okay. So now you see our ground is expanded, and we can walk a little bit further, jump over this obstacle here and continue until it ends. This looks okay, but this is a little bit dull, so we need to add more elements to our game. And as you recall, we have a bunch of elements that we can use. So let's close this instance of the game and let's open the assets folder on the solution explorer, and we have our level 1 folder and we have our sprite sheet. So sprite sheet contains all of these elements that we can use. So as you can see, we have a bunch of platforms and things we can use. There's bushes, there's trees. So we are going to use a bunch of these. So let's do that. Going back to our level 1. First, we are going to add a platform on the left side here, so the player doesn't move the character out and he falls down. We are going to add a platform just to keep him from going, and of course he's going to need to have a static collider so it collides with that platform. So let's do that next. Let's position this a little bit better, and let's add on the world elements folder, let's add an empty entity and let's call this the big platform. And as you can see, we can move the entity around. Just as we did for the ground platform and the character, we are going to select an image for this entity. So going to the property grid, let's add a component, and we are going to add a sprite, and let's select the sprite. And let's drag and drop our sprite sheet. And now we need to select the frame of the image. So let's go here and see if we can find the platform. So we want this big one on the left, and this is number 18. So let's select this one, going back to our level 1 scene, selecting our big platform and just typing 18, and there it is. But this is still a little bit small, and we need to cover this ground space here, and also be taller so the character doesn't jump over it, because if we just do it like this, then it doesn't work because the character will jump over it. So what we can do is use the scale gizmo, which is located up here. So just click on the gizmo and now we can scale this entity. So let's make it like this, and that seems okay. I believe the character will not be able to jump over. And of course I'm doing this way just to illustrate how you can do it, but you can go in greater detail, create your own platforms and everything else, and I'm sure you can create much better than this. But now let's continue. So let's go back to our translate gizmo, which is this first one here, and let's just move this a little bit here to the side, and we need to give it a collider box, or create a static collider. So let's do that next. With our big platform selected, we are going to add a component, and we are going to physics, add a static collider. And if we go down, we have our static collider section. Let's go down again, and we have our collider shapes, and let's add a box. Go down again, make it 2D, and now we need to shape the box to cover the image. So you already know how this works. Just need to change the values here on the size or offset to cover the image with static collider box. So I'm going to do that next. And this looks good to me. Now we just need to position the platform to the side like this, and our character should be colliding with this platform. So this way the character will not fall. And let's save and test this. So we are not able to go further to the left. So the level can start here and then we go to the right side. Let's keep adding more elements to the game world. And next we are going to add just one or two platforms to make the character jump over them. So going to our world elements folder, we are going to add an empty entity, and we are going to add the medium platform and the small platform. So as you recall, going back to the sprite sheet, we have a medium platform. So we have a tall one, then a not so tall one, and then a smaller one. So these will be the ones that we are referring to. So this one is going to be, the small one is going to be the number 17, and the number 19 is going to be the medium one. So let's add this to our game. And actually this is the small platform, not the medium platform, so we can just change the name. So pressing F2, and let's change this to the small platform. So this becomes the small platform, and this one becomes the medium platform. Sorry about that. So let's do the same thing for the medium platform. So now we have these two platforms that we can use the building of our game world. So we can duplicate these platforms and use them again and again. So let's position them. Okay, so we can jump up this platform and this one. This looks nice. Our staircase here. This looks okay. So let's keep adding more elements to our game. So now we want to add the hills in the background. So these will be some hills that we see far off. Let's go to our world elements folder and create an empty entity, just like that. Let's position this a little bit better, like this, and maybe have a looking a little bit far away, like this. Let's change the name to of our entity to hills. Actually, I don't think we added the hills before. That's my mistake. So let's correct that. So going to the last frame, we are going to duplicate, change the name to hill 1, and we are going to use the magic one to select the hill up here. And then we are going to duplicate again, change the name to hill 2, and we are going to select the second hill. So hill 1 and hill 2. This is the 42 and 43 frames. And let's save this. Let's go back to our level 1 scene, select hill 1, and this is going to be 42. There you go. And we already see the hill appearing there. But now we want the hills to show far off. And this is too small. So we need to scale up this hill and change the position as well. So with the hill selected, we are going to make it much bigger. And for that, we can go to the property grid and change the values on the scale option on the X and Y axis. So let's try scaling for 3 on the X axis and on the Y axis. And that looks much better, but now this is in front of the world elements that we have. We want it to be a little bit backward. So for that, we are going to change the position, and this is going to change on the Z axis. So this is going to be a negative value because we want it to go back. So let's try -5. So just that you can have a better feel, we can orientate our view of the scene so we can see the gap between the hill and the platforms. So let's do that. And here we can move the hills maybe a little bit back. So let's try changing the Z-axis to 15, to -15. And let's click on the camera entity and we can see here how it looks. And this looks a little bit too big. So it's showing up. So the hills are showing up too high and they are covering the moon on the background. And this doesn't look very good. So we'll change again. And that looks okay. So let's play the game just to see how it looks. And that looks okay. And you can see right away that we have the parallax effect. The hills on the background are moving at a different speed from the elements on the foreground. And also everything that we position between the hills and the platforms will appear to move at different speeds. This looks quite cool. So let's expand the hill so it covers all the level. I'm actually going to delete the hill 2 entity that we've created, and we're just going to select the hill number 1, and we are going to duplicate and move it to the side like that. And as you can see, we can attach one to another. And now we have our hills. So I've created a little bit, I've added a hill to the left, so it shows more to the left, and for the right it covers the level that we have for platforms. And let's run the game to test this. And this looks pretty cool, so let's continue adding more elements. We'll now add some bushes and trees. So let's do that next. Let's close the game instance. And I've just noticed that this is not a nice naming for the hill since we are duplicating the same hill. So let's rename this. We'll also rename tree 1 to 3, and let's position our trees. So here you can be creative and put it wherever you want. So I'll just put it here, duplicate, and maybe a little bit further to the right, and then a little bit to the front like that. And let's duplicate. And let's duplicate this one, and we are going to change the image to this tree here, and let's duplicate. And look at that. Now you can adjust the position of the trees, and lastly we can add bushes. And let's check out how this looks. And as you can see, we have a nice parallax effect, looks pretty cool. And of course, things are not all well positioned, but you can take your time and build the world as you desire. So this is it for the second part of this tutorial, where we are creating a 2D platformer using the Stride3D game engine. And for the next part, we are going to be using triggers to create some cool effects and much more. So stay tuned for the next part. And of course, thank you very much for watching these videos. Please subscribe and leave a like and comment so this channel can grow and I can keep making these videos. So thanks again and see you next time.